Hey guys, what's up? Thanks for tuning into the Novo channel. This is a new idea that Ben and I have kind of had, and we have these awesome conversations. We're now just sitting in our office, and I was saying to him, I said, my mom's actually a nurse and she works in the hospital. And I said, it's always crazy to her that she found that all these people around the world live in Ethiopia, and I'm from Chicago, south side of Chicago, and all these places, and somehow these people who have it the worst don't need to take antidepressants. But for some odd reason, we have so many people in America depressed and on antidepressants. And Ben, what was your comment in regards to the work with that?
The mind is very interesting. Someone who, it doesn't even matter what you do, what walk of life you're from. It's amazing the power that your mind can have over you. And I think when a mind is left to itself, it can do these interesting things. And people need to work, is basically the foundation of the thought that we both had and kind of shared, and decided that we need to kind of elaborate on that for everybody. And it doesn't mean that you have to work for someone else. It's just the idea that if you're left to your own devices, your mind's own devices, it can create this completely fabricated world of interesting things, and it can really detract from someone's life. It's funny because people think, I think people in a lot of ways hate work, but they need it. It's a necessary evil.
Yeah, I had when I was going through nearly the end of my graduate program, I had a teacher who would talk to me as a teacher, and then at the end of it, he would say, close that door. He would close the door behind me, and then he would just scold me. And this is actually one of the teachers that I don't know, I talked to you about with the Novo, and he really helped me with a lot of things. And he would just scold me every day on things. And he would always say at the end of the meetings, he said, you know, there's a funny thing about work. You don't have to like it. You just gotta fucking do it.
Yep.
You know, so it's weird. It's kind of I guess paradoxical in nature, because I think about that a lot with when I go to the gym. It's like, I know if I'm having a bad day, you always say you just need to train. I know that if I go work, I will feel better. So like you always say, working out for you is actually bad for you acutely, in the acute sense, but chronically, it's that feeling of work that derives those good feelings that we need. So I guess from a motivational standpoint, for a long-term motivational standpoint, you have to get to the work.
Well,
I always say.
I think you need to think about, and I'm not sure if everybody fully realizes this when they train, but for a lot of people, training is that release, where they're literally going in and doing work. And what happens? You feel better. If you sat at home and you marinated in those feelings and those heavy, dark thoughts, and you stay there, it becomes chronic. And so in a way, training is you're doing work. It's funny because that phrase, do work, it's so simple but so necessary. And for myself, and I know Ryan too, is when we need to disconnect or detach, we come to the warehouse and do work, and it recenters us. When there's too much crazy going on mentally or just outside, we come and just get lost in work, and everybody's doing that at the gym. I just think it's important to always have this kind of balance. I think balance is so, I don't know, underappreciated. Everybody talks about it like it's important, like, oh, I need to eat a balanced diet.
It's still very vague, though. You know?
It is.
mean, so what's this? So what's this middle point? Like, what do we do? What did we say? Did we say, what does overreaching mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so what do you do? Do you overreach, or do you know where is that happy point with training, with work? Like, for us, it's about 80 hours a week.
Yep.
That's our happy point.
Yeah.
You know, so for everyone, you should set a standard. You should say, I know I'm happiest at 50 hours, 40 hours. And I don't think there's anything wrong with knowing where your flow is, with where your kind of mid pace road. And it's just like training. Working is a lot like training. I've paralleled this to my life. I started out, when I first started working, my first job, obviously, I worked 12 hours a week. That used to exhaust me. I mean, from 15 years old till I'm now 26 years old, I progressively got up to 80 hours and it feels the same as 14, you know?
It's funny that you say that, because I think everybody has this internal system that is in function for the most part, where they know when it's getting too much, because you can feel it. You get that feeling of like crushed by stress. And it's funny because it's adaptation. I mean, when we both started working, it wasn't 80 hours a week and that was normal, but you can adapt. And in saying that, I want to make it clear what I'm trying to get across there is everybody has their threshold. Like for me, for us, a lot of times more work is our release, and maybe that might not be the same for you, but you can feel it. So tune into that feeling. It's funny because physiologically you have all of these things like chemoreceptors, you know, and mechanoreceptors with load and stuff like that. I think you have some kind of receptor for, you know, life overload, and you need to tune into that and listen. And because if you don't, you start to lose yourself in those feelings.
Yeah, it's like, I think the overarching theme for this, kind of, we didn't know where we were going with this, but I'm starting to really embrace the work. So when you guys overtly hear people yell and shout out work, and I say a lot myself and do these things, I think what we really mean is pain as medicine, and I mean pain as work. You know what I mean? So when you really go and you see that, wow, this is going to be tiring for the next 3 hours I have to train, or for the next 5 or 10 hours that I have to work, it's okay. Actually, I have this quote that I put up as a status not long ago from Khalil Gibran. I don't know if you guys read much poetry, but it's kind of what I got this idea from. I'll read a portion of it. It says, "Much of your pain is self-chosen. It is the bitter potion by which the physician within you heals your sick self. Therefore, trust the physician and drink his remedy in silence and tranquility." So getting to work, you know what I mean? I think, reiterating back to the kind of doing a full karmic turn on this, is that if you fucking sit around and just mentally masturbate and overthink things, you're going to drive yourself into depression. You're going to hate work. You're going to hate training. And then naturally you'll hate everything around you. Naturally you'll come into this, like I said, this lifestyle like a preteen, where everything is negative and you hate absolutely everything.
Yeah.
So work is a cure in a sense.
I think it's funny because you think about, you know, art and science I don't really believe they're that far detached from one another, or mutually exclusive is a better way to put it. And you think of these people who we see as, or is well known that they have some type of mental disorder or disease, and what does that kind of translate into? Like, for example, like James Taylor was, you know, like in a psych ward, I think, and but his music is wonderful and it's amazing and it touches you, and it's just so deep. And then artists, like a lot of artists are depressed, but they go and they do work, and they do amazing work. So you need to channel that into something. Obviously it's not this cure, but the idea we started this whole thing upon is think about any third world country. There is no such thing as an antidepressant. They don't do it. What do? They go and do work. And what happens if they don't? They're kind of out of the tribe. So in a way, it's this survival of the fittest, and it's not just physically. And I think we get so lost in this physical fit. You have to be mentally fit too, because when they're out of harmony, you don't even know what you're becoming, and it could be almost like an identity crisis.
And that's funny that you brought up identity, because a big part of identity is ego, which I talked about in something on my channel, which I recently talked about. And one part of your ego is part of physical things, physical identity, and things that we think we are. So if we work, a lot of our identity is tied up in de novo, in training, and our families and our friends. If you don't have anything, your ego is strong. Your ego will find something to attach itself to. Your ego will, I've seen people who can't miss their TV show at 7:30 who don't work. Why do you get such a visceral response? Because you have to watch that show. It's because you have nothing else. You're so bored that you say, okay, well, I've identified a large part of myself. My ego has said, this is me. This show is me. I watch my show at 7:30. I wake up at this time, and you don't even have a fucking sense of you anymore because you've got so far away from the work. When I say the work, I don't mean it as this abstract master that controls you, but something that you can literally identify yourself with, you know?
Yeah.
So,
it's an extreme. I mean, it's an extreme. Well, in a way, it's an extreme, but it's also a very primal form of self-expression. You get to know you when you do work.
Absolutely. There's a little frog or lizard in here. Sorry, guys.
We'll take care of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's a great way to realize yourself. How much can you endure? And it's a better way than sitting there and mentally sitting in feelings and how much can you endure of what you'll do to yourself psychologically. It's more so, again, I'll use the training analogy, is how much volume can I handle today? You know, how much and what amount is right? And it's just a beautiful way to recenter yourself. And yeah, we had a great thought, and I'm happy that we actually shared that on video.
Awesome. So guys, if this is successful, I think what we'll do is I would actually like for you guys to send us a message to our Novo page, and we'll go through them. And even if you want to do either that or respond in the comments, and we'll pick the topics from you guys, what you'd like to talk about aggregately, and whatever we see a lot of, we'll talk, and we'll just do our little philosophy talks on it if you guys enjoy these. So thank you guys so very much for tuning in. We'll see you the next time we do one of these.